So welcome everybody. This is Martin Foster speaking. Welcome to Empathy is the New CEO Currency. We will start the webinar in a couple of minutes, just waiting for new people to join. So we continue to see some new participant to join. So please bear with us. We're going to start in a few moments. We have a great topics for you today.
All right, Martin, looks like everybody starts coming in. I'm sure we'll have a couple stragglers here, but I think we can get going.
Yes, or
Fantastic.
we can wait maybe 60 seconds. Let's
Sounds
wait
good.
another minute. Yeah, it's just the hour, so let's people are connecting still. So 1 minute more and then we'll start. Number is rising, so we were right. So welcome everybody. My name is Martin Foster, Vice President and Managing Principal for Predictive Success America. We're glad to be here today with you for Empathy is the New CEO Currency. And numbers still climbing for participants, so we'll give them a few seconds more, and then we can start as we reach the number of registration that we have closer and closer. Means we're getting there. So just maybe 30 seconds and we can start.
Sounds good.
By the way, it's a good time for you folks to just, if you're new to Zoom, there's a chat box where Thomas, my assistant today, will be helping you. If you have any question, you want to write it down in the chat box, that would be great. I'm going to take a couple of pause during the presentation so you guys can have your question to Thomas, and Thomas will relay them to me. In English, please, Thomas. As you know, English is my preferred language, as you can see. Thank you. Okay, so we're ready. Let's go. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be your host today for, first of all, Predictive Success America and Predictive Success Corporation here in Canada. I'll talk to you about us a little bit more later. But I am the Vice President of Business Development, and as you can see, English is not my mother language. I am based in Montreal, Quebec, but I'll be more than happy to do this session with you today. I think we have a great session, and it's a session that's really, I think, important and valuable for the new time we're living in. And, you know, empathy has always been great. Everybody has always been aware of empathy, but I think this is the time that you need to be fully aware of what's empathy and how can you deal with this. Of course, we have, about 40 minutes, 45 minutes webinar. So we're gonna overview a couple of things, and please reach out to us after the webinar if you want to learn more about empathy, and we'll be more than happy to do so. Do not leave the webinar. If you leave the webinar during my presentation, you won't be able to get your gift because as you told me, Thomas, everybody's going to get a gift, right? And
yes.
I think it looks like this, our brand new book. So please stay with us. So let's go. Let's run this. So let me present myself. Well, I did it a little bit, but let me tell you where I come from. I used to be in the hotel industry. So I am right now profoundly with them at this moment. As you know, hotel is one of the market that has been the most impacted by the situation we're living in. Restaurant, airlines company, travel agency, that's all the world I was in. So I say a big hi to these guys if we have any on this call. So I was there for 24 years, managing 26 hotels across Quebec, Ontario, and in the eastern provinces. But you know, when you run an hotel, it's like running a family, running a dream team, running the perfect team. And you know, when I had the chance to jump in on the ship of Predictive Success, it was very easy for me to just be there and help grow organization and really be people oriented and help them achieve their goals. Because as you know, we're here to help you guys align your strategy with the results. If we can do that, that's what talent optimization is all about. And as you can see, we're very transparent. So you have my profile there. I am a captain. So you'll see during this webinar, I am a driver. I like to drive. So that's the perfect spot for me today. I am extrovert, so I like people. So thank you for being here. I'd like to see you physically though, but it's going to be virtually today. I like urgency. I am impatient for results, which gives me proactiveness. I am also task oriented and I love the risk. Why I love the risk? Well, this topic, I love it, but it's the first time I'm delivering it today and it's in my second languages. But you know, that's what I like. It's risk. So this is who I am, Martin Foster. I'm a captain. And this is a couple of clients I'm working with. And I'm very happy to be here today. So let's start. So I told you about the chat room. Thomas is there. I will take a couple of pause during the presentation. So please ask any question that you might have, and Thomas will be sure to rely them on me. Let's start with something very important from Tim Cook in 2017. He said, people will try to convince you that you should keep empathy out of your career. Don't accept this false premises. So yeah, so I think Tim Cook is a great leader. And you know, when you don't think about empathy, I think this is where problems begins. So please don't accept this. It is very important, and let me show you why. And the way we're going to show you this today is based on this chain of event. And it comes from the Globe and Mail, which we found very interesting here in Canada. First, awareness. What does it mean? Well, it is to understand you, who you are, and also how you adapt to your environment as a leader. This is what we call being aware, right? And also to understand where do you fit in your teamwork style. And this is what we call being aware. So awareness, which will lead you to what we called accountability. I mean, accountability for me, when I saw that, the first word that pops in my head was commit, right? Commit to understand blind spot and hire and coach to the gap. It's so important to commit to who you are. I mean, it's great to be self-aware, but if you don't act on it, you're just going to be yourself and forget your gap or your gray side. So individual leader, you can have a high amount of that empathy that we're going to come to talk about today. You can have a low amount of that empathy. I don't care. You just need, as a leader, to be aware and to act on it. And you'll see, to have a high amount of empathy and low amount of empathy, or just the right amount of empathy, there's no real advantage. I mean, all profiles are great. You just need to realize who you are and act on it. And this is where we stand out after accountability is action, right? And action, I mean, I could say it in all different language, it's act. Please do something. How are you covering your team empathy gaps? So as a leader, do you have other leader responding to you? If you are, yes, then that's great. You should lead them to be aware of these gaps. If you are a direct leader of people, then within your team, do you have empathy? So awareness is being aware, accountability is commit, and action is act. And we will follow that trend today. Okay, this is from Harvard Business Review. I mean, logo speaks, right? You have the top rated company in this world, which are qualified at most empathetic companies. And you can see the graph. I mean, I don't know in your world, but in my world, a big green line like this that goes up, it's fun, right? It's great companies. Well, you got them there. They are the top rated, most empathetic companies in the world, and the number shows. And on contrary, the worst rated company, well, we don't like red, right? In companies, we like green. So yeah, so not so good. So whenever you think if empathy is important or not, I mean, look at this slide. This is being aware of where you are. And as you can see, when I'm aware if I am an empathetic company, well, there's other things that's going to come in line, but I have more possibility to go on the green line than the red line. And if I'm not a good empathetic company, there's more chance I'm going to go down the drain. So this is important stuff, and this is when I realized that this was very important for today's world. But first, what would be important is understand a little bit more where does empathy comes from. Don't you agree? I'm sure we agree. And first of all, I've missed one thing I wanted to give you on this slide is the real definition of awareness, not awareness, of empathy. It's the ability to share someone else's feeling or experience by imagining what it would be in that person's situation. And that's from the Oxford Dictionary. Can you put yourself in the shoes of others? Can you put yourself in the shoes of your people, of your manager, of your CEO, of everybody that you work with? And where does empathy comes from? Well, empathy comes from human. It's you, right? It's not a machine, it's a person. And we have three layers of information whenever you look at a human being. This is the stuff that we teach, not only us, but every psychology-based scientific company will tell you that. There's three levels of information. There's the briefcase. The briefcase is really, really important. It tells me about you. It tells me about your education, your knowledge, your skill, your experience. I mean, this is very much important stuff. I mean, would you hire somebody without knowing their education, their knowledge, their skills, and their experience? No. I mean, this is like not looking at a resume. You need to do this, right? And this is very important. So we need to continue to do this. Then there's the heart. Well, this is where comes the value, the passion, the interest, and the shared belief. That's also very important. And that information doesn't come from the resume. It comes from the meeting, right? Yeah, I know today it's harder to meet your candidate for any job or employees because of this world we're living in, but there's the virtual way. We're on Zoom today. Some people use Teams, some people use other system, which is great. But to see someone, how they react, their passion, talk about their values, their interests, that's also very important. And I know you do this. There's a little bit of in the heart and briefcase movement. This stuff's going to change over time. I mean, your briefcase in 5 years from now will probably be bigger, right? You'll learn some stuff. You'll probably go back to school, or I have a webinar online. It's going to change your briefcase. Your heart, the same. The values evolve. Your passion will evolve. A long time ago, I used to play soccer. I don't anymore. I run. So, my passion is running now. It's not the other way around. And your shared belief also will change. But you know what? There's one constant thing in your life. It's who you are. It's your head, what we call your behavioral drive and your cognitive ability. We will leave on the side today the cognitive side, but we will talk to you about behavioral side today, because this is where empathy comes from. It's from the head. It comes from either you have some empathy or you don't. And this is what we want to show you today, is looking at this through the head of the people. And yes, you're probably surprised at what I'm saying, but your head is stable over time. The last numbers we got from my psychology research is 5 to 8 years. But even then, so after 5 to 8 years, if you are moving, if your drives are moving, they're moving very slightly. So really, you can base yourself on who you are. You have a stability to 5 to 8 years, which is important also for your empathy. If today you recognize yourself as having a lack of empathy, it's probably the way it's going to be for a couple of years to come. So you need to be aware of this. Good? And this is what leads to performance. When you align briefcase, heart, and head to the job fit in regards to that job, regarding of empathy, and I'll talk about the job fit for empathy, but that would lead you to performance, right? If I have these three aligned with the job, I have success. And this is what bring blockers to success though. And this is where I'm going to bring empathy. Everybody can see the green line. This is, my God, this is all what we want in our employees, right? We want the green line. We want them to perform to high standards. We want to give them all the chance in the world to have a high performance. I don't think any of you on this call today, on this webinar, wants the green line, the have to people. You know, the people that do the minimum to get the paycheck? No, we don't want this. So if you don't want this, you need to be aware of the blocker to success. And there is 4. And let's lead them to empathy. First of all, job fit. I've just said it, right? You need the good job fit to do the perfect performance. And some job requires empathy. Some job may not need as much as empathy. So empathy will become very important in your job fit, but also all the drive that makes it very high performing. One of the blocker that's very important for empathy is the manager. This is where I'm gonna put a lot of a light today, is how manager must in today's world have empathy, even if they don't have it naturally. Because manager is the continuous trend of success. Because I could have a good job, the perfect job fit, but if the manager doesn't let me be who I am or doesn't motivate me the way I want to be, I'm still blocked to get to high performance. I'm just going to leave. I won't leave my job. I'm just going to leave that manager, right? Then there's culture. Well, we're going to talk to this about today. Does your company encourage empathy? I said that if you have manager under your authority, do you know them? Do you lead them to teach them to recognize if this decision lacked empathy or had empathy? And then there's the team. Yeah, management team. Let's just bring in management team. Does your management team have high empathy or not? And we'll see that. I'll show you 2 examples today. And you'll see 2 real examples of 2 company. Of course, I won't tell any name here, so don't be nervous, anyone here. But I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying about a group of people with a lack of empathy. And we will see that. So the blocker to success, job fit. You will never perform if you don't have the right job fit. You will never perform if your manager doesn't give you what you want or what you need as a behavioral and also as a motivation. You will never perform if the culture of the company doesn't suit you well, and also if your team is not aligned with who you are. So any questions so far, Thomas, on these 2 really important, understand the whole person, the head, the briefcase, the heart, and also the blocker to success?
No questions as of right now, Martin.
Thank you, Thomas. Please ask any question in the chat box if you have some. So I talked about these drives, right? So I cannot go without explaining to you what are these drives. And here's a game I want you guys to do. I want you to try to find which of these drives are important when you want to measure empathy. And I'll give you some guidelines. There's 2. So 2 out of these 4 will lead me to understand if you do have empathy or not. So I'll give you the definition of these drives, the 4 drives that we measure at Predictive Success, and then I'll give you the right answer. So maybe you'll know if you were right or wrong. And if you want to shoot your answer to Thomas, go ahead. And Thomas, maybe we'll take a break just before I tell everyone what's the good answer. So the first drive we measure is the dominance. You got it here. The definition is the drive to exert one's influence of people or events. Yeah, I want to drive, right? I want to be the driver, or I want to be the co-pilot. I want to be the independent, or I want to be the collaborator, right? That's going to tell me who you are. Okay, so do you think dominance has a saying in empathy? I'll let you think about it. The second of the drive we're measuring in the predictive success that might be important also for empathy, I don't know, you let me know, but it's extroversion. The extroversion is what? Is the drive for social interaction with other people. Yeah, it's the extroversion. I mean, you are extrovert or reserved. You are people-oriented or you're task-oriented. So you decide. The third drive that we're measuring in the predictive success world is the drive for patience. And the drive for patience is very important. It's going to tell me if you have the drive for consistency and stability. In my world, I call it strategic or action. Oh, interesting. Am I a strategic person, calm, quiet, stabilized? Or am I more action, impatient, quick, fast-paced? Is that important for empathy? You let me know. Maybe it's one of these 2. I don't know. There's 2. I remind you, there's 2 of those connecting together that will tell me if you are an empathetic leader or an empathetic person. Last one, formality. Yes, it's the D drive, we call it. It's the drive to conform to rules and structure. So either you are detailed, precise, organized, or you need more flexibility with rules and details. So interesting. Will this one be the one that tells me if you have empathy or not? Thomas, anyone tried an answer on this?
Yeah, I had a couple of messages sent to me, a little bit of differing opinion here. Some people said A, some people said a combination of B and C, and then we had 1 or 2 that was focused around D.
Okay, good. Well, you're not far. Good people. I think we have some people very knowledgeable about these drive. Well, the good answer is, there you go. It's the combination of B and A. So yes, it is a combination of dominance and also the combination of extroversion, but extroversion need to lead. Okay, if your B drive, which is the extroversion drive, is more important than your dominance drive, in our world, in the psychology world, it's going to tell me you are people oriented. And if you are people oriented, one of the vocabulary we're going to use is empathy. Got it. So for all of you that said A and B, yes, you were right. These are the 2 most important drive that's going to lead me to know that you do have some empathy. And why do I say this? Is I kept a little secret. Yes, always keep secrets. There's another drive. Well, it's not a drive, but it's more I would say a certain level of decision making that you have. Remember, in your life, we probably told you you were subjective or objective. Yeah, we measure this at Predictive Success in one of our graphs, and it's not either of these 4 letters. So that's why I play a trick on you. BNA does measure empathy, but we have a second level of measuring empathy. And we're going to see that objective and subjective with the E score. And I'm leading to this in just a few moments. But I have a surprise for all of you. There you go. So it's the E drive. So if you are objective, leads with logic, consider the fact your decisions are more black and white. Less empathy here. If you are subjective, you lead with intuition, you consider the emotional side, and you can read between the lines. So see how empathy will come up in your decision making. So interesting, it doesn't come from the drive. If it comes from the drive, it's when you're B over A, it's once you're extrovert over dominance, gives you people oriented, but then there's a second layer of measuring empathy, and it's the low E. Being subjective in your decision making makes you somebody that looks at the gray side, makes you look at the emotional side, and more human being type of decision taking, more people oriented if you want. So we have two layers. So how do we work with this? Well, here we go. We had a fun game this week. Yeah, truly. I mean, we're playing. Of course, we don't have Mr. Trump or Mr. Biden, but we played it, and it could look like this. I mean, for any type of leaders. I mean, if you are Trump, you are A over B, very task oriented. The only thing that's important is the end results, and he's very objective in the decision he's making. So maybe a lack of empathy here. We presume new President Biden being task oriented also, because he seems to be like that, but he has a subjective side. So see how it can work that out. And I'm gonna have more example for you in just a sec. If you're staying with me, I'm gonna show you two sides of that. So yeah, let's go for this. So do you have or do you not have empathy? So let's start with leader Jane. Leader Jane is empathy here. Good. B over A, right? Extroversion over dominant. She has some empathy. What about her decision making? Subjective. Well, you have the double whammies. You have two empathy. So that leads me to, and by experience, what I've teach leaders to do, and what I've teach CEO to do is recognize that they may have too much empathy. Yes, it does happen. Yes, and you know them. You've probably been in touch with some of them. You know, all the leaders that take too much of the problem of others at home, that have hard time explaining tough situation to employee, or just can't do it. You know, these leaders that just cannot fire someone that was there for a couple of years. They just can't do it. Well, sometimes no empathy and too much empathy can be a problem. In my case, each time I had this case of a Jane, or it could be a Joe, people oriented, subjective decision, I'm always saying the same thing: be aware. I told you at the beginning, right? Be aware. It might lead you to take personal problem home. It's just to be aware. I'm not asking you to change. I'm asking you to be aware of this. That would be my case A. I have case B, Tom and Bill. Well, I have two cases, because in these two cases, if I look at Tom, he doesn't have it in his drive. He's A over B, so he's task oriented. So maybe a lack of empathy here, but he is subjective in his decision making. So the way I see Tom, he's gonna analyze a situation very analytical and very task oriented, but when the decision making come, the subjectiveness will bring the empathy into the board. So for me, I call it the balance empathy, because at least I know that somewhere in the process, empathy will kick in. Let's see Bill. Bill does have B over A, so he is people oriented. I know right from the start that he's gonna have some empathy, but he is objective. So more black and white decision making. So I'm fine with this too. I mean, he's gonna bring empathy very early in the process, and at the end, he's gonna take a more objective decision without removing the empathy from the beginning. And I call it a balance empathy. And I have the last case, and you probably know where I'm going with this one. So this is John now. This is real John. So John is task-oriented and objective, no empathy. Yeah, so again, be aware. I mean, it's okay. You'll be very task-centric, in the way you do stuff and the way you take your decision. So yes, sometimes it may lack of empathy. Being aware. Being aware. So whenever I teach a CEO or a leader, I just let them know, I'm sorry to say, John, but can I tell you that sometimes you lack of empathy? Is that something we've told you before? And you know what? They always have a smile because they know. So being aware is recognize that you do have it naturally or not in who you are. And this is the first step of seeing this. Any question on these three cases, Thomas?
Nope, none right now.
Okay, good. So prepare your question. Now I'm going to go in the team. So I told you about board of directors, right? I'm sure you're going to be pleased to see now that we've taken this into individual people. If I look at the team, how can I know if I have a team that's going to be people oriented with empathy or not? And these are real example. Here you go. Case number one. This company, B over A, all of the leaders of this team does have empathy. So they're going to be a real empathetic board of directors. Good or bad, you decide, but they might be too much because I don't have the counterpart. You know, when I look at the board of director, I always try to get a fair balance between task oriented, numbers, objective, task, and also try to see people oriented. How is this decisions going to be impacted on my people, on my client? If you have both, I call it balance board of directors. In this case, people will, of course, think about the people, which is kind of nice. I mean, but who's going to lead the task? Who's going to lead the objective to another level? So in this case of a board of directors, that might be too much. And in the case too, well, you saw me coming. I mean, this is a large group. We'll probably have 10 people here. 10 out of the 10. I'm telling you, real numbers. We're task oriented. I said, you guys must take very, very, very hard decisions sometimes. And you know, the problem is here is, do you know the impact on your people? Do you know the impact of your decision on your client? Do you know the impact with empathetic? Can you, and if we go back to the definition of Oxford, can you put your feet into the shoes of someone else? In this case, clearly, no, not in this board of directors. And you know where the problem comes sometimes? Here we go. They hire your people like they are, right? I've seen so many board of directors where, you know, the first reaction from the CEO is said, oh, look at all my vice president. They all have my profile. And I'm like, no, it's not funny. It's just what we are tended to do. You have hired people that looks like you. But who's going to challenge you? Thomas, I think we got a couple of questions, right?
Yes, we did. So I can just, I'll move through these for you. First off, is empathy really seeing things from the employee's view? As a CEO, why do I care?
Well, you should care. You should care because we're going to see where it's going to lead us in this remote work area. If you're not able to be in person physically with your people, empathy will be your best savior. You can predict how you're going to lead them by changing who you are and putting yourself into their shoes. And I don't want to throw a couple of things that we're going to see a little bit later, but you know, some of the people will need more people-oriented leaders because they don't feel so good about remote work. So please stay for the next few slides. Another question, Thomas?
Yeah, just you mentioned sort of something similar to this. What's an example of a great empathetic leader during COVID?
What's a great, well, I think the situation we're at, Tom and Bill here, This is what I think is a well-balanced, empathetic leaders. But if you ask me if I prefer to have a no empathy or a too much empathy, I think I would rather have too much empathy than no empathy. But again, it's to be self-aware. In today's remote works, I think empathy makes a big difference. So it might be hard for John here, who has no empathy. If he has not learned that yet, and he's not self-aware, he's making a lot of mistake right now. A lot of mistake right now.
Awesome. And just one final question here, sort of a broad one. Can empathy be taught?
It can be taught, learned. Being self-aware means you will never change, right? So you will never change. But to learn that you don't or you have empathy makes you react and rethink your decision making. Of course, there's a couple of factors you need to be involved. Stress is one of them. If you are under stress, you always go back to your natural self, which means under stress, if you have no empathy, you will forget about empathy. So always take that into consideration, because stress will always, it's like a refuge for you. You go back to your natural self. But when you feel the stress, know that if you have no empathy, you may react accordingly. Thank you, Thomas. So developing accountability. So how do we create a plan now? So now that I know that I have this capability to have empathy or not, how do I do this in this bright new world of remote working? Well, I said so since the beginning. I mean, what type of leaders am I? And to do this, well, you need to do a self-awareness assessment to help you understand who you are. And that's going to lead you to also understand what are your strongest behavior. And remember, I told you, right? Under stress, you go back to your natural. And how is it going to impact in this world? And I gave you an example. There's a real world example here. For those of you that have a high dominance at work, it's not a problem. Your assertiveness, maybe whenever you announce this decision in the physical place of your workspace, you do have a smile, you do have a tone in your voice that sometimes will not bring stress, and people, you lead them and it's good. But remember, remote, they don't see you. Okay, so sometimes when you're that same person, being assertive will equals to them learning and understanding you of demanding and also dictating. You don't want this. Remember, when you are in a remote work area, we're removing a part that's very important. It's the visual. Of course, there's Zoom. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. But when you are physically at the job in your office, there's a way you announce things. You announce your decision. So being assertive is one of them. So you're task oriented, you announce the objective and you give it and you say, let's go, gang, we can do it. But in the remote work area, when you take this decision, we've seen by experience that this dominant may be seen as too demanding and too dictating. So these leaders that are very assertive, you need to be aware of this. And that comes from empathy, because if you are assertive, mean task oriented, remember, that's not people oriented. So this is where the empathy comes from. So how I do communicate with empathy with my remote workers. First of all, you need to be familiar with your people. You need to be comfortable with them. You need to be a good understanding of all of their behavior. And I'm going to give you some example. Remember, some people love the remote works right now and some don't. And that's also being self-aware. And this is also what empathy will teach you. As a long distance leader, you'll need to be empathetic in a way that you'll need to understand that your people need to unplug. I've been having a remote office for 20 plus years. And I always said the same thing. It could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. People always think about remote work as people doing their laundry, doing kitchen, doing food, and not doing the work. Yeah, there's a possibility, but there's also a possibility you do too much hours. Remember, your office is always open. It's just next door. Saturday morning, you have nothing to do, responding to email, doing some work. Hey, Sunday, it's raining, work, work, work. That can lead to distress, to fatigue. So remember, you need to be an empathetic leader and tell your people to unplug. Understand also that you need to listen. Listening will probably be one of your savior during these times. If you are listening to your people, if you put the time and the energy to listen to what they need to tell you, you'll be more cohesive, right? And you'll be more understanding and you'll show empathy, because with empathy comes listening. And if you do listen, then that's great. Couple of example. Of course, I could have run 20 example. Our team, research team in Boston, they have couple of these figures. So me and Thomas, we've decided to give you 3 prime examples on how you should adapt in remote work with specific profile. You all know social profile, right? I told you about them. They're very extrovert. Well, we found out, our study found out that they may be more fatigued by virtual meetings. I'm guilty. I am extrovert. I told you before, I'm a captain. Yes, we accept everything because we want the contact, right? And we take too much. And virtual does affect us because we like social. Social is not Zoom. I'm sorry, that won't work. Social is real people. So we are, yeah, it's harder for us. Not only us though. 2 profile that really digs the remote works. Analyzer, individualist. So maybe it doesn't say anything for you. It's persistent pattern. So what I say, remember the lone wolf? Yeah, that's them. They like to work by themselves. They're very high end. You lead them with objective and you let them go. This is what we call analyzer and individualist. They are very high end. Well, they love the autonomy and they love working from home. They did before, so they do now because it's like the norm. Before we called them lone wolf because they were like that. We don't call them lone wolf anymore. We are all lone wolf. So funny how it changed, right? And the last example I wanted to give you is guardians. Guardians are stabilizing pattern. Well, Martin, you're very, very analytical. Easy. Stabilizing pattern. Think about defensive. No risk. I'm protecting the company from risk. Well, these profile, they find it harder to collaborate and connect with teammates. Yeah, they need this team spirit because our defensive people they're together and they're protector of the organization, low risk. Yeah, they find this very hard. So we need to be empathetic and recognize who they are. So only 3 examples, and please reach out to me if you want more information. We do have a study on that we can definitely share with you guys. Any question, Thomas, on these example?
Nope. Let's keep moving forward. No, we have about 15, 20 minutes here to go.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, we'll be on time, I guess. Creating an empathetic remote accountability plan. Well, this is what you need to be as a leader for remote works. So don't be an helicopter boss. I loved it when I saw that. It's just be clear. I mean, you don't need to watch them. I mean, if the first thing you thought about remote works was to put the camera in their house, I think that you're going the wrong way. I mean, you need to trust your people. Maybe it won't be the typical 8 to 5. Maybe it's going to be different hours, but don't be the helicopter. You don't need to see all of this. Build a communication rhythm. Yeah. And what I'm going to say about this is, and this is so true, you need to be quick in your response. Very quick. Why? Well, when you're in the office, and I don't know, somebody that reports to you sends you an email with a question, and he sees he's not in your office, that you're in meeting all day. He won't stressed out, right? He knows you are in meeting all day. He sees in your office. But whenever he's home, he doesn't see you. And if he's waiting for your answer to start the work, he's going to be like, hey, where's the answer? He's probably in front of the computer like me. Why don't I get an answer? Yeah, so we have that way of thinking. So if you can be quicker in your response, that would be better. And put also very high rhythm on your communication based on what you need and the people need. Set clear expectation for remote workers. I said it. You must lead by objective, not by how many hours you've done. Don't do this. I mean, you need to lead by objective. What have they? What task have they completed this week? Understand what drives them. I told you about a couple, and I told you, and that here's another trick about low degrees of extroversion. We would call them reserved people. It's okay. You don't need to reach out to them every day. Okay, they love that space. And dial up self-awareness. You need to have that more frequent reaction with your people, and you need to be aware of their weaknesses, but also to be a great leader to them. That will lead to success, I'm sure. So how do we translate this into action? Well, it's funny because there's a book called The Challenger Sales. For any of you that are very familiar with sales, or you are in the sales world, I deeply recommend it. It's not the latest book to be released, but it's so great, and it's a little bit on the same stage here. Talk, teach, and tailor. Well, you need to talk about empathy. Please be transparent. And at Predictive Success, the first thing I've learned is great organizations are transparent. When people ask us, Martin, in any organization, should we share who we are with them? I said, yeah, we are all about being transparent. Teach. That's so important. If you lead by teach, you'll be a great leader. All the great leaders teach their employees something. And tailor, adapt yourself to the data, adapt yourself to what you need to do, and just don't have the same communication with everybody. Some of them will need more detail, some don't. Some will need more empathy than others. This is what you need. So if you think about it, talk, teach, tailor, the 3 T's, that's easy to remember. Please apply this, and you'll have great influence on your people. A couple of things also that might help you drive empathy and self-awareness in your people. I'm just going to go quick on these. So, and I'm preparing for your question at the end here. Do you have a dream team? Any of you that speak French, I'll have a webinar on December 10th on do you have a dream team for your sales team? So please ask Thomas or me to register you. But yeah, so dream teams is very the buzzword right now that we're trying to bring in is how do we align where you want to go to your to the people that you have in your organization. If you have business strategy and you want business results, the thing that's going to bring you this is your people. So if you're not aligned, you're going to have problem. And this is what we do at Predictive Success. We will align your people to your strategy to make better results. That's what we call talent optimization. You'll need to be a great coach. Well, we can do this also. We can give you some coaching guide to help you recognize the gap. And it will include empathy, and it will include to teach the one that leads by example and teach by example how you can teach them. And I know there was a question on that. Yes, you can teach them to recognize that they don't have empathy. Here's how you can have empathy. Think about what the person's gonna listen when you talk. So yes, that can be teach. And finally, what's the relationship between you and some of your people? There's strengths for sure. I call it the friend zone. This is what we become friends, right? It's easy. I am dominant. I like to take decision. and you like collaboration. Hey, we make a good fit. We're friends. So that's strengths. But there's also caution. I like to drive. I like to be independent, and you too. Conflict. It's a caution. But we don't stop there. If you see on the report on the right, it's going to be tips. We'll let you know how to resolve this. So if you go head to head and you both dominant, I say don't lead the bus. You need each your wheel. It's very hard to drive a car with four hands, but it's easy to drive two cars with two set of hands. That's good. But yeah, that's what we do with the relationship guide. And I think that's a wrap. So we are on time, Thomas. We got 10 minutes for more question. And yeah, we have a gift for you while you're preparing your question. As a thank you for being here today, you will receive that new bestseller from our president and CEO, David Leahy. Great reading from Hire to Inspire. You become a best boss. So you all receive that copy. So Thomas will take the lead on that to send you your book. And I am giving you personally, and our team will give you personally, a 1-hour executive alignment session. Any topic we speak today, you want to do your management team, you want to talk to me about yourself, you want to maybe try our assessment, you decide. I give you 60 minutes. You decide what you want to talk. I'll be empathetic. I'll listen to you. I'll be people-oriented, and I'll try to understand how we can help you grow your business and align your strategy to your objective.
Fantastic. Thanks, Martin. Just a couple of questions that I had sort of roll in here through the last 5 minutes. One thing is a pretty general question. What effect does talent optimization, as you put it, but here it talks about strategy, what effect does talent optimization have on generating revenue?
Well, generating revenue is very important in the way that any of you guys have a strategic plan. I mean, all companies, 99.9% of companies have a strategic plan. These strategic plan have very, very task-oriented, very high objectives. You want to grow the business. I've never seen a strategic plan with a down objective. So you want to bring your revenue up. Well, what's in the middle? Who's going to deliver the goods? Only the CEO? Well, that's a one-man company. That's not a company to me. It's a one company's person. So that's a consultant. There's people. Yeah. So people will align again what your strategy are into results.
Awesome. One other one here, just pulling it up. Someone's saying thank you, and as usual, very helpful. So nice little empathetic comment there. But one more question. How long does something like this take to roll out? My team is under a lot of pressure because of COVID. How can we implement this quickly?
24 hours. 24 hours if you need us. And your people are responsive, we will send them a quick assessment, 6 minutes to complete. Our system, which is very robust, we have 60 plus years of data, will generate your team, and we will let you know what's the end result, and we'll give you a great diagnostic of your team. So 24 hours, Thomas, not longer than that.
Awesome. And just one other one we have in here. You've talked about empathy. Is there some other way to apply this to other business functions? For example, for my sales team, for my operations team,
Of course. And like I said, for some very specific job, empathy will be very important. And I hope I showed you that manager needs empathy. Well, any other job, let's take finance. Finance will be really objective, task-oriented. That might lead to have a team that's more task-oriented. So yes, I mean, the way we're showing this is we can go by funnel and only organize by teams. And this is what the concept of Dream Team is. Dream Team is not just the organization. It can be funnel of different organizations. So we definitely can do finance, we can do board of directors, we can do HR, sales. We have a great sales program. We can even measure the other component of sales, and not behavioral, but the competency. Yeah, we have another assessment that will measure the competency of a salesperson.
Awesome. And that seems to be everything, Martin. So just as a note here, I'll be following up and we can get everyone shipping information for the books. Martin, I'm not sure if there's anything you want to say to finish this off, but we'll let everybody have the rest of the day.
Thank you, Thomas, for organizing this. Thank you for all of you guys to attend. I think we're only missing 2 people registered today, so I saw the number rise. That's great. Thank you for that. My email is there. My phone number is there. But we have a full team, a Canadian team. We are 20 dedicated employees at Predictive Success, and we can help you grow your business all across Canada.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.